please don't let it cloud your minds, and don't feel guilty for coming on here like you're suddenly somehow crowding me, because I want to take my mind off. I want to have a good time tonight, very much. So USA Up All Night was an influence, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
I think Monster Vision was the one I feel like I watched all the time growing up.
Monster Vision actually had a production value, whereas Up All Night I feel like that, it's just like what Gilbert Gottfried and Rhonda Shear, like talking in an empty bar or some shit in between segments, right?
Yeah, they just kind of start rolling. Just tremendous amounts of content with the minimal amount of effort. That's kind of part of the Horrible Vacuum motto, I think. Yeah, it was Up All Night, and also Matt and I, we've known each other for years. This guy's just a wild man, and we used to just every week go down to Hollywood Video in Savannah, Georgia, and come back with a stack and just go through just grab movies based on cover art alone, and it did irreparable brain damage, and here we are.
So where does this story begin? I mean, you guys didn't actually like do some sort of GoFundMe or what do you call it? What's the other thing? What was the first? Indiegogo, but before that, what was the thing?
Patreon? Or no, wait, that's Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. You guys didn't do a Kickstarter for this thing, did you? Because some people have done Kickstarter for publishers. Thanks for coming, by the way, Gregor. And Zach, you're still here? Okay, great. So where does this story begin, guys? Where did you get your funding, if any?
No funding. So the real history on some of this is we both have some light background in indie publishing and stuff, and I put out more I won't say respectable, but real stuff from time to time in physical formats. And this started as just sort of a gag that we were passing back and forth lists of stupid movie titles with sort of elevator pitches written underneath them. Just like I said earlier, trying to really hit at the weaknesses of our friendship and make one of us pull the plug and end it by just being irritating. And then we finally decided we could up the ante on that and actually write one of these pitches into a story. And we just selected the ebook format. I put out some other stuff on it, but it was just that allowed it to just exist. We didn't have to do any initial investment other than our own time in editing and preparing the art and preparing the stuff, and it could just sort of be, and we could create this sort of body of work without having to put any money up front and selling 99-cent ebooks.
And here's something. Here is what is at the beginning of every Horrible Vacuum book. It's the closest thing to a preface or a this word movie is for private home viewing only, not licensed for any other use. Any public performance, copying, or other use is strictly whatever. All other gems preserved. So, yes, I'm on the hook for copyright infringement with your like zero company. That takes a lot of fucking up, huh?
Yeah, you're on the hook for sure, and I know you're going through some personal stuff, but you're going to be hearing from our attorney, Crunch Rambone, later this week.
Okay. Crunch Rambo. Who there's a sort of unity that tells me that I know you guys take pitches for your stories, but what there's a unity with as far as the way the dialogue goes. There's a certain way that the dialogue across each author's books goes that you can tell that people are you guys are intentionally lowballing the reader as hard as you can. It's like, and I didn't even notice it at first. So who decided the direction of this? Ultimately, I mean, this is a few years old now, right?
Yeah, I think 4 years ago. First ago. Matt, you want to speak on us lowballing the reader with our dialogue?
Yeah, what's it? And no, Papa Roach is no longer playing.
I feel like
Yeah, that scroll is a lie.
the joke between us was like we're trying to make I don't even know. The dialogue is my favorite part to write because it's like that's the most direct attack. I'm like, oh, I hate every word, and that's like when we're in joke mode, we talk to one another, without thinking about it. So the idea, it kind of blew my mind that anyone else could sort of pitch something and then get into it, because it's like you'd have to pitch a joke or pitch something so stupid it really got both of our attentions, to be like, oh, that's like we both appreciate that and it's really good. Because I think we even shot down a couple of pitches because they're not, they're just not all what we're really into.
Yeah. So a couple were turned down for not being bad enough. Yeah.
I love it. So what was the very first book? Was it Grocery Stalker?
It was, we concurrently wrote, actually, the first, didn't we do 6 to begin with? We each wrote 3 and then came to the table with the first 3 each. So I wrote Prairie Dog, Bloody Murder, and
yeah, I love that. That is so like bad rim shot joke. I mean,
lowest hanging fruit. We're just if you could be lying prone and grab the fruit, that's it.
It kind of reminds me. I was just gonna say, Bloody Murder kind of reminds me of like a deathbed as described by Patton Oswalt in his routine.
The bed that eats.
Yes, the bed that eats people.
Oh yeah, God, I love this title here. The best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, heck, I'm remembering when we talked about these books before.
You do?
I love these covers here.
Yeah. Vamp Stamp.
That was one of the original ones, Matt, right? It was Vamp Stamp, Typewriter, and
Hungry Hippies. That's a genre that seems to have been kind of forgotten. The killer hippie movie.
Yeah, I think Matt and I spend a lot of time in the sort of specifically 70s, 80s sort of horror and just sort of schizo film type stuff. So there come the hippies.
Let's see. So, what are some other killer hippie movies? Like with the Tripper, with the David Arquette or something.
Snuff is actually a killer hippie movie. It was basically like a generic killer hippie movie that they attached a gimmick ending to.
Wait, Snuff?
I think that's what it was called. What's that movie where there's a part at the end where it cuts away and they kill like a crew member or something, except it's obviously fake. I want to say it's Snuff, but
I wrote Hungry Hippies, and I think I remember like I there's 2 that are like that. Right? I watched some back to back. They're just so like they're exactly what you expect. Basic thing. Hippies do drugs, lose their mind.
A little bit of a delay with your mark.
Yeah, I don't know if you have like a mic you can move closer to or something because we can't hear you very well.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
I Eat Your Flesh was one I remember.
There we go.
We saw it back in the day.
Yeah, wait. That's the one where they the kid poisons the meat pies of these cultists or whatever, and then they eat them, and then they all get rabies. He like takes draws like the blood of a dead rabid dog and injects them into the meat pies, and then these cultists all eat the meat pies, and they go rabid on the whole town. Is that right?
Yep.
That's I drink your blood, isn't it?
Okay. I always flip flop. I drink your blood and I eat your flesh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I drink your blood.
But there was a partnered movie that was partnered with it in the drive-in or something days. That it was called "I Eat Your Flesh" or "I Eat Your Skin" or something. So yeah,
Wasn't it an Ed Gein movie?
It was black and white. Yeah, I know that much. But "I Drink Your Blood" was definitely the better offering. But it seems like, Mark, you have the most of these books under your belt out of everybody with the press. Would that be correct?
I want to say I think that Andy and I are probably tied for them, maybe, because it seemed like I would write one, he would write one, and we just back and forth. But yeah, I can't even at this point. I kind of forget. Maybe we've each done 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah, you might be one up on me, but otherwise it's, I think, pretty much equal. And then we have Nate wrote one, Mike wrote 2, my dad wrote a Poltergeist, which was
that's a great one. So wait a minute. So you got your dad in on this. Now, did you have to hard sell him on it, or did he like, oh man, I went in on this, or what?
My ability to come up with low-hanging puns is genetic, and so when he saw that I was finally putting the family heirloom to use, I think it's probably the most we've ever bonded was over his writing of a Poltergeist.
And this one is a really hard sell of a joke. T-shirt. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, there it is. T-shirt of the werewolf.
That's my favorite title so far.
Get it because it's WEAR.
Right.
Now that
I love the kid sticker on there.
That is a false advertising there. Free with purchase of a T-shirt.
That is not fun. That one was written specifically to be given away for free with a T-shirt. You can purchase it on its own, but we have at times had merch, and this was supposed to be the sort of even cheaper version of a usual Horrible Vacuum title that could just be given away for free with your Horrible Vacuum T-shirt.
One size.
The synopsis for this one's really good too.
Let's see. Do you want to describe it yourself, or?
I'd love to hear somebody else say those words.
Gregor, you want the honor, or?
Go. No, you're the reader, man.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah.
Dunky Diggs had the worst T-shirt at his junior high school until one day he finds a different one. Will his new T-shirt get him the fame and babes, or just more problems and possibly death?
I can imagine that voiceover on a trailer.
Now, there's one that's not available on Amazon for obvious reasons. Do you not see a problem here?
That's not available on Amazon?
Not that I can tell. Am I overlooking it?
I think only the first couple are up on Amazon, and then I stopped posting them there because it's I wanted to have more control over it, and if you're selling stuff for 99 cents, they take a third of the cut, and we got a business to run here, so we can't deal with that sort of a cut going to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, this was actually one of the better ones I read. Father figure, he's a pint-sized pop. If you look, if I think I can zoom in on this again. Well, if you look real close,
I like that girl's face or boy or whatever that is.
Yeah. If I've zoomed in on that before somehow, I don't remember how I did it, but his face actually looks like the mouth that you would put on the end of a thumb like the old thumb war animation. if you zoom in real close, but I don't think I can right now. This one has a really I really was drawing a question mark after I read this because of a choice that it made. But I mean, this guy gets to be like a literal superhero, you know, when the kid plays action figures with him, because he is an action figure. And wait, I've got to pull up some dialogue on this, because the wife has a totally different perspective. The son thinks it's the most coolest thing in the world, that, you know, wow, my dad is an action figure, you know, and yeah, and now we can play Spaceman and everything. But then when the mom finds out,
yeah, there's that one. There's a pretty big tone shift in that one. Yeah, that one's
there's a pretty big what?
A pretty big tone shift in father figure. It's deals with some hard family issues.
So how long are these books typically?
15 pages, 27 pages.
Yeah, 15 to 20, 10 to 20 pages.
Okay.
Hang on, and
you can purchase them directly from your site.
Mm-hmm.
That actually benefits you more if they do that, right?
Oh yeah.
You gain a whole, like, I don't know, 50 cents instead of the 25, right?
Or 35.
Right. You're rolling in it. I don't want to toot our own horn too hard, but you know, we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and Horrible Vacuum was brought in selling 99-cent ebooks, enough for several large pizzas.
Oh man,
so
that is impressive.
It's a lucrative line of work if you can do it. You got the Constitution for it, but you know it's tough to churn these out.
So can you buy like a book bundle of all of them that exist in one go?
Yeah, I think we have the whole the Horrible Vacuum first 20 collection. I haven't. This is interestingly timed. We've been in sort of unofficial pause for a little bit. Just we've been doing other projects and kind of getting caught up in life stuff. But it's this has been fun to revisit, and also it's sort of in the process of evolving to a new and potentially even more convoluted form, where there will be a version of physical copies being bootlegged by a ghost with a haunted fax machine. But in terms of this, yeah, there's like the first 20 bundle. We have a couple, like the first 6 bundle. There's some that are like packaged as like horror pack or the kids and family pack. There's ways to sort of to mainline some Horrible Vacuum titles if for some reason you determine that needs to happen to you.
Now with father figure though, check out the mom's reaction here. You can tell that she's not exactly she's a little bit disappointed almost that he's still alive for one reason or another. Laren's mom threw her hand up. I mean, you can't get a job? We'll have to keep this a secret from everyone. How will we survive? How am I supposed to take care of this family? It's okay, honey, he said. Turns out I don't eat much. Yeah, Mom, he doesn't eat much. Ha, ha, ha. Laren and his dad performed a mini high five of the joke. All right, you can stay, but I have to sell the house. Your life insurance is only going to last so long, and I can't make enough as a waitress to afford it. You were dead, Stephen. You should be dead, but I can see that Laren needs a father figure in his life. She took a deep breath and wiped her eyes. Laren, take your dad upstairs and leave me alone for a while.
So what's the kid's name?
Laron, Laron.
Okay, I never heard that name. That's good.
Is there a last name Jidus?
Oh, that actually would work. That would. I could see that. Yeah.
That was an early title, so that was early on in the progression. They're closer. They're not actual, but they're closer to real names that people might have. but somehow, like over the course of Horrible Vacuum existing, we got real fast and loose with our naming convention, and to a point that I don't even really know what's going on anymore.
What are you
So-
giving them, like
If I were to
Thomas
buy the
Pynchon names?
Oh, go ahead, Ben. What are you saying?
I was gonna say, what are you giving them, like Thomas Pynchon style names?
Yeah, with even less regard for physical safety.
Let's see.
So if I were to buy like a 10-pack or whatever it is, right? Are all of the covers included in the ebook?
Yeah, they come with the front and back cover art, which again Matt and I trade off on. We both kind of do also work as graphic designers in other parts of our lives and stuff, and so this was like a fun outlet to get to put some of those skills to use. So yeah, the art. There's also they each have sort of mocked up VHS images with sort of the label of what that would be. They're called word movies because in every way we reversed engineered the idea of a short story because we're morons, and like we conceive of these as just written versions of movies, not in the way a screenplay is, just in the way that these they should be movies, but this is the way that they're presented to the world because we don't have time or finances to shoot federal offense that's up there on the screen.
Federal offense is actually, I think that may be actually my favorite because, and once again, the dialogue really excels in showing that, you know, you're intentionally trying to be as irreverent as the covers suggest. For instance,
I mean, this looks real, though. I mean, this looks like this could actually be a real movie to me, right? I mean, really, like Legally Blonde, right? I mean, it's about as, you know, I mean, that's about as far-fetched, right?
That's
Yeah.
we often say, like, you know, Matt and I both have stacks and stacks of old movies that are exactly like this, as bad as this, and we're actively trying to come up with the stupidest ideas that we can manage, and we're not doing as good a job as reality has already made. Yeah, they're dumber movies than Federal Offense, to my my constant shame.
Yeah, I mean, this title and concept looks to me like something that totally could exist in reality, and people would be dead serious about putting it out.
Or they were an Adam Sandler movie.
I mean, they were dead serious about putting Cool Runnings out, as goofy as that shit was.
Wow, that really happened too. Yeah,
I
know.
Based on real actual life. Sometimes they make movies based on real actual life.
Yeah, I know Cool Runnings is based on a true story. It doesn't make the movie any less fucking goofy.
Do you think that Freddy Got Fingered is? Do you think that you guys are at least as good or better than Freddy? Or do you think that Tom Green has the edge over you?
There's nobody who's as good as Freddy Got Fingered. Nobody will ever reach those heights.
So the plot of Federal Offense is that terrorists, the FBI believes that there's a terrorist plot to put a bomb in the Stanley Cup, and so they've got to win it to dismantle it, right?
Literally, the only means the FBI has of getting their hands on the Stanley Cup is to win hockey.
I mean, you guys actually did this. This is you brought this into real life. Do you understand? I mean,
yeah, I do sometimes feel a responsibility.
I can see this being made in like the same vein as something like Kindergarten Cop.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
This was another one by Art. Okay. So maybe I have a sort of a preference for your books in particular, Art. I don't know, but it's the dialogue is really fucking goofy, you know, and I like how the way that they have to recruit all these guys who swore that they were retired and they were done with the federal bureau, but each one of them retire to some hobby that is really fucking goofy and irreverent. And they all have the same McGurnaghy, it's been a while, voiced the cigared voice on the other end of the cordless phone. Out swimming with the dolphins again? Chief of the FBI, I should have known. What do you want? I'm retired, remember? Bogus took a drink of alcohol and stared off into the distance. Yeah, Mac, I know you're retired. But tell me, are you still playing hockey? Not a lot of ice on the island of Key West, Chief, but I'd be a real liar if I said I didn't play some pickup games with the guys up on the pier, and those rollerblades Linda got me for my other retirement from my marriage to her.
I need these in my life.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go get the 20-pack.
Why, Chief? Why do you ask? A dolphin off the side of the houseboat just then performed a graceful double backflip and returned majestically to the cool ocean water with a sploosh. Terrorists, Mac. They've gone and planted a bomb in the highest award you can win for hockey, the Stanley Cup. We're putting together a federal hockey team to try and stop them. We've got to win that trophy and disarm the explosive bomb, Mac. You're the first call I've made. I've never known a finer agent or offensive forward center. Your country needs you one more time. Well, you can skip the country part. My country has chewed me up and spit me out like a piece of untasty bubble gum. But I tell you what I will do it. I'll do it for the sport of hockey. Why its roots go back to the civilization of ancient Egypt. So long ago, I've got a Stanley Cup I got to win. And then from there on, he proceeds to recruit guys, all these other guys who, like some guy named Grind Stepdale, who is devoted to
That's a name.
Spider monkeys is his thing. Dolphins with the Mac guy, spider monkeys with Grind Stepdale. He marveled at their almost human-like bodies covered in fur and with nimble prehensile tails. Just as he was about to pin his thoughts on a banana leaf, his rotary phone rang. Oh, great. Just when I was about to write some more of my thoughts about spider monkeys. Truly miserable creatures that they are. I mean, so, and it goes on and on like that. And eventually, when they're trying to assemble the entire team, they go back and they it talks about all the different hobbies that all these guys have accrued. There's a Blinchelson sets down a large fish and wipes his brow as two agents approach him in a busy fish market. Mickelson blows his whistle and tells his Little League hockey team to keep it up when he notices two agents standing at the far end of the rink. Milt peels his stubby face from the sticky bar counter, clutching a cold alcohol as two agents walk in. Blanarney sets down the phone, looks at his wife, and shrugs an I gotta do what I gotta do shrug. Flannelson looks up from a stack of papers to see two agents standing in the door of his office. He rips off his tie and tosses it in the paper shredder. It's a long montage, and similar things happen 11 more times. Those are actually words here. So, yeah, I think that this one is actually the funniest. When I first read Grocery Stalker on the recommendation of Ray Roschke, who's like a hardcore book reviewer, or at least was at one time, I actually thought that she was, trying to, recommend it to people as this seriously, serious endeavor. But then I got a little further into it, and I thought, yeah, this is totally played for tongue in cheek.
These are literary shit posts.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
So they
never let up. Like the dialogue, everything about them, they stay as bad as possible. Like there's no it became okay writing at the end. Like the motto, we could always make it, like it could always be worse, is exactly what we try to do. Like make it stupider, make it worse than it already is.
Yeah, I mean that's the mistake that comedy film typically makes, is that once it gets to the point where it seems like they feel like they need to make sense, the movie usually falls apart and is not any good anymore, right?
Right.
So it's good you guys don't do that.
And I feel like
Yeah, it's like Adam Sandler films where it's just like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say in the innumerable amount of movies we've watched together, like Andy and I, just they like even stupid kids movies would like have this, you know, it would be like kind of funny and idiotic, and then they would like change it in the last 20 minutes. So you're like, this kind of sucks now. Like, why couldn't it just be like an absolute trash heap, and they could be proud of that? Like, that would be so much more fun.
Right. Yeah, that's the. I mean, and also books that are you know, supposed to be comedic as well try to, you know, they feel like, oh man, there's got to be some kind of plot, right? And then once the plot, you know, rears its ugly head, then it turns into not nearly as enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we just dispense with plot entirely.
That is good. I mean, you can do that for a 25-page story, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
You can just sprint to the end.
Right.
So, yeah, it's like not like an Adam Sandler film where it's like 80 minutes of like farting and crotch hits and a retard voice, and then all of a sudden, oh no, my wife is dying. Oh no.
Yeah, it's that condensed to 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the through line that they have to. I mean, that they have to. Yeah, I think they have to maintain.
They don't have to.
Well,
that's the thing, right? Well, maybe somebody says they have to, but I don't think they have to.
Just Bezos.
No, they should be like Freddy Got Fingered, where even like the emotional moments are just like, you know, completely tongue in cheek. Where where the closest thing to an emotional moment is shit like, I don't want jewels, I just want to suck your dick.
You know what? Yeah, that there's that moment where she says that. She says, even if you weren't rich, I'd still just want to suck your cock. I could see a theater full of guys like tearing up at that.
Exactly.
So good. So here we are at your actual website. Resistance is futile. Microwave oven. I love that one. Fall wall. I don't get the pun there.
It's a demon possessed wall that makes it difficult to stand near. That was written by another author, Garth Marvin.
You won't be able to stand it. Wait, now who's the other guy?
There's Garth Marvin. Nat Doyley wrote one. George G.G. George wrote both.
I mean, are these real people, or are they just pseudonyms that you guys come up with for your?
Yeah. Are they actual people, or
they're actual people. There are several other humans who have interacted with this over the 5 years we've been doing it. Most of it's Mark and myself, but yeah.
I love this. No idea what the hell's going on. Start here. So this is where. So you actually you don't even call these short stories. You actually literally use the term word movie.
Yeah, the incredibly confusing term word movie. There's a lot of sort of intentional self-sabotage and horrible vacuum, which isn't. It's everything about this was just sort of Matt and I perpetuating a joke on each other, and so the way it's sort of marketed, the way it presents itself, all of it is just to entertain and amuse ourselves, which is a nice thing when you're not answerable to any higher power. You can just put this out there. It can exist, and apparently it can make its way through the wires for a while, and then someone can find Grocery Stalker and end up contacting you to be on the podcast.
So why have you guys been on hold?
No, nothing larger than we've just been within the last couple of years. We both moved around a bit and have some other projects going on.
Seriously, who slept with whose wife? Let's get down to it.
Well, he's in North Carolina. I'm in New Orleans. I think we hit 20 and it was just sort of like an emotional save spot. And we have no, it's very much like still an existent idea in our heads, and we still sync up about stuff. It's just kind of, there's been a couple loops around where we've just been occupied with other projects and life stuff. But like I said, it's sort of evolving into a new form with bootleg hard copies distributed via a ghost and a haunted fax machine I found in an abandoned warehouse. And we both have some new titles partially in the works for a death and wellness double feature.
Nice.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had one of them half finished since like 2017 or something, and just between moving and a couple odds and ends popping in the way, and on like a weird creative note, I remember writing dialogue for the one that I'm still working on, and hitting a point where I was like, this is almost becoming like a short story. Like I gotta, like I'm overthinking it when I'm supposed to be underthinking it. So it was kind of nice to just like take a break and essentially move and work on a house for a while. But I am at this point really excited to get back into it and try to make
Yeah,
it,
I think you're gonna see some new stuff, new fresh stuff dropping from Art and Mark in 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what is the worst pitch that you've ever heard? Assuming, but based on what you said earlier, for a pitch to fail, it has to actually be something that would be worth publishing. So it's kind of the opposite of how most publishers, if this starts to sound promising, or like, hey, this could actually, make money, or, make some sort of profound statement about society. Sorry, but it's not for us, basically.
I guess it's
Right.
what ends up being the inverse of worse. The worst pitches are just not particularly interesting. They just sort of like lack a resonance of the terrible quality that makes a horrible vacuum. And so, something like Microwave Coven comes along. Boom! I want to see your 2-page treatment on that, and we're probably going to publish that. And then stuff that's more of a reach. Just say submissions are always open. Thanks. Try again next time. We did have a couple. I had a friend submit a full, labored for 15 whole pages and wrote one, and you could see there were embers of jokes, and it fit sort of the mold of a bad old movie, but ultimately it was too kind of self-conscious, and it just didn't fit. So that's how that goes. You just even for deliberately trying to put out the worst possible material we can, there's an editorial process.
Mm.
Right.
Matt and I edit each other very slightly. We're of singular mind on Horrible Vacuum pretty much, and there's sort of a tradition to us submitting a finished document. We'll send it, and then we'll highlight parts and then have our phone call where we scream at each other about what a fucking idiot the other is, and have like a couple passes or two just tightening stuff up. But there's been, my Upholstergeist, there was a bigger editorial process because my dad doesn't generally operate in this realm, but we ended up with a really tight piece there about a haunted piece of furniture.
Do you think that he might start like getting a little bit of a prima donna, like rock star attitude because he published Upholsterized. Hey, my son runs a shitty publishing company, you know, like, and I'm his best author now. I mean, you see that happening?
You know, I wish to God he would, because I've been on his ass about finishing Autumn for years now, which was going to be just a autumnal fall bloodbath. But he says he has writer's block, so I don't know.
Now, what do you mean? Autumn as in screaming in fear, or
yeah, that's it.
Okay. So he's been laboring. He's been laboring for years on this 25 page masterpiece.
Yeah, I think I think we're gonna end up with just a real tome when it finally drops.
Well,
but yeah, like I said, that was a tremendous process of my own father submitting a piece to Horrible Vacuum, and I got, as a son, there was just a tremendous feeling of accomplishment when a year later, when it was time, as per our contract, to cut him a check on official Horrible Vacuum ledger for the $1.36 royalties he'd earned.
And you made sure he got every penny, right?
Yeah, we're staunch accountants in that regard. All of our authors get paid. I think he's one of the top earners at $1.36. But
Jesus Christ, top earners! Yeah. You can actually say top earners. Like this. What is Ziki Chongo? That's a.
Is that like a cannibal one?
That one, I'll take responsibility for that one. That was back when all this stuff started, and we would just throw titles back and forth. I had like this huge list of titles that just seemed like amusing sort of movie titles, and that one I just tried to think of the stupidest words I could think of and put them all together. Because like, what on earth does Ziki Chango mean? I don't know. And then the pitch was, it's kind of like an adventure, sort of, like Indiana Jones-ish type of setup or whatever. But the most fun part of this was I wrote it and then got Andy to do the cover without literally having read a word of it. I was like, hey, it's called this, which again doesn't give you anything. And I was like, there's a ruby involved, and it takes place in the jungle. And this is what this was first draft, what the cover was going to look like. And it's perfect. Yeah, I love this one. This one was really surprisingly fun to write because it is, I don't know what adventure stories are like. Like I've only, I don't know how to write them.
Yeah, so, Gregor was asking about like bundles earlier, and
you just bought one.
Mega packs. Is that only through the website?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's pretty easy. I went through the process of buying it with PayPal, and the it wasn't clunky at all as far as checking out, getting my content. I have my content already on my machine, and I'm ready to go.
Great.
Okay, so here's the list of names of all you guys. I don't. What did Garth Marvin write?
Garth Marvin did Fall Wall.
What did he write?
Fall Wall.
Okay.
We were just talking about that one.
Yeah, that's right. Nat Doyley.
It's so weird.
Nat Doyley did Continental Drift, about a team of drift racing geologists who have to use their skills to stop a volcano from erupting.
Okay, where's the slapdash like whimsy there?
Well, they're drift racers, right? I mean, that's some sort of like Tokyo Drift kind of bullshit thing. I mean, like you know, is that what you're talking about? Referring to like some sort of a car racing?
That's absolutely it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Steve Lawman,
father of Art Luman.
Oh.
Okay, and he hasn't written anything else then.
Nope, just Polstergeist for now.
And George G.G. George. Is he the one that wrote Swap Meat?
Yep, Swap Meat and Microwave Coven.
Yeah, I think this is another one of my favorites. Look at
George.
Yeah, that
George
cover's
is a
good.
good one. George is to date the only author that neither Matt or I knew previous to this. He somehow found his way to these and resonated with it and submitted me a pitch cold for Swap Meet. And we started up a dialogue, and he submitted it. It was great. We did just a quick little revision on it and went to press.
Yeah.
You
Microwave.
mean premiere? You went to the premiere.
Yeah, I went to the premiere.
Yeah.
With this ring,
Right.
Direct to video.
That's you right there, right?
Yep.
What's wrong with the little lady in there? What's wrong with their eyes?
Oh, there's some deep dark stuff afoot with this ring.
Oh, she's dead.
The title almost sounds like a Goosebumps title.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely another part of the DNA here. Yeah, I love just sort of serialized movies and books and stuff in general, just things that kind of come out as whole. Every time the new one drops, like it's got the same design and it doesn't matter what the actual content is, you're on board for just everything that, every new Goosebumps book that comes out, or every media home entertainment movie that shows up on your Blockbuster shelf.
Right. The brand, like this, that's the brand, or the kind of like the producer or whatever is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any women written for HV yet?
No.
Not yet.
There's no official policy about that.
You should make one.
I mean, who hosts this site? We need to call them up, tell them to take it offline.
Ladies, send your pitches.
Ladies, send your pitch. Please, guys.
Now, it should be a boys only club, like a treehouse.
Wishing Hell.
Wishing Hell is I will go ahead and give a personal plug to that. Matt and I were just talking the other day, just catching up and talking about some of this stuff, and it's changed, jumped around a little bit, but Wishing Hell is my current kind of favorite sleeper hit from the catalog.
Well,
Wow,
it makes me very proud to hear.
It's just
I
a
feel
real
like
tour de force.
the plot of this came together so easily. Like, this was the one I think I sat down and one 4-hour session, just wrote the whole thing without even coming up for so much as water. It was very easy to write, and I think it pushed the naming scheme the furthest, because I think the woman in it's named like Dagmar the Beautiful, like is her official given name, even though she's just a person, like it's not in medieval times.
Right.
Mm.
Which isn't introduced.
First name Dagmar, middle name V, last name Beautiful.
Yeah. And that wallops you about 3/4 of the way through the story, and then all of a sudden you find out that the mother of this family that you've been with the whole time is called Cromslore the Beautiful or whatever.
Yeah.
What is the tagline on this? I'm having trouble reading it. What is it? Sometimes the past is better left
Undug.
Undug.
Oh.
So, I mean, I feel like there are several authors that we're not mentioning in relation to this. How many are there in all?
7 in total.
Have any of them had a falling out with you yet?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Come on.
Nat Doyley is writing a thrilling new article for a new sort of unrelated project, Maxim Rock and Roll, the world's most underground men's magazine. And my dad is still he's still my father. George Gigi George is he's been doing some other writing projects, but we exchange pleasantries every now and again. And I just went on a hike to a graveyard with Garth Marvin last spring. So everybody's accounted for.
Yeah.
What about sequels?
We haven't done a sequel. There has been a long greenlit but not in production sequel. Which Matt, should I tease this one? Should I give a little?
Yeah, you should, because that'll make me want to write it that much more.
Yeah, I agree. That one, the whole idea for this sequel was that we were going to write them at the same time. I was going to write one, and Matt was going to write the other, with no knowledge of what the other one was writing. But it was going to be Shred of Evidence and Shred of Evidence 2, Mountain of Evidence. And Shred of Evidence is the kid has to win a legal case by using his skateboard moves, and then Mountain of Evidence is same kid now has to do snowboarding tricks to win a legal case.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know what that's what it is.
Yeah, whatever. Whoa. Did I miss something?
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I fell.
Did you blank out?
Yeah. That may happen from time to time. But so how long has it been since you published a new one?
Resistance is Futile is the last one that came out. And yeah,
a mustache. Does the kid have a mustache?
No one.
No,
most people on the
he
cover.
just looks simian-like to me.
No.
Yeah, most people on covers end up with bad faces.
He just has monkey face.
Yeah.
Okay, go
on. When did Resistance is Futile come out, Matt? That was
I would say like maybe 2018, something like that. Like it was. I mean, it was right before I moved, so probably August of 2018.
Yeah. It's encoded in
one. Who does the covers? Is that in house, or do you hire someone to do all of them?
They do them. They said that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I did this one. This was like
obviously
15 years of Photoshop skill, and I used it all as poorly as I could for this.
I'm telling you, the kid has a porn stash.
Nah, he just has a monkey face.
The old simian lip.
He's got
a really skinny arm.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he got one really skinny arm.
I really forgot about that.
It's like a album cover for the Residents.
Well, I mean, is it when you guys take this out of hibernation or whatever? Is it just going to be you two, or are the other guys still on board? Or
it's open in that regard. It's always going to be Matt and I, and anybody else is open as much as they're interested. The whole kind of, again, with the structure of it, it was envisioned that sort of it could sustain just kind of pausing and existing, and people could come and go, and that the bulk was going to be carried by the Matt and I trying to sabotage our friendship, but that it could have people drop in and out as they had an idea that was worthy of coming out on Horrible Vacuum, similar to video studios and stuff, that they had sort of their backbone directors, but they would produce other works and all sorts of stuff would come out under the banner of it.
Mm. So yeah, did you say you're thinking about doing imprints?
In a sense, yeah, that further convolutes the whole history of everything. But a lot of our background is in print media and stuff, and zines, and I've done a lot of I've tabled Horrible Vacuum at a number of like zine fests and stuff, and the look of confusion on someone's face as you present them a VHS box, a representative of a non-physical ebook that they can download, is profound, and so there's going to be kind of a new form that's sort of document versions of them. Someday there may be a full collection in like an actual book form, but for now it's something a bit like more ephemeral and convoluted. We always just sort of come up with it's not for any reason other than it entertains us, but with sort of strange ways of going about stuff, because it keeps our interest better. So yeah, the new imprint is going to be photocopies of bootleg versions of these stories.
Like, and that is going to be, that is a plot in itself, though, right?
Yeah, it is. That's a whole new sort of meta plot of publishing that will contain Horrible Vacuum, but Horrible Vacuum will now be a subset of a larger thing. It's going to be called Bogleg, but that is documents from a near reality faxed to me on an old fax machine I found from an entity from a different plane, and that's the framing of that publishing venture, which is basically an elaborate way to get out of having to market anything. It just exists, and I have even less ownership of how it's presented than with Horrible Vacuum.
How about an anthology?
Yeah, there's definitely that in the works too.
That would definitely drum up some. I mean, everybody's always looking for something to submit to. I mean, are
you talking about an anthology or a collection? Are you actually talking about an anthology? An anthology
with stories by each story by a different, author.
Yeah, I was asking, is art actually talking about anthology?
More a collection than I mean, I don't know how these would exist in that, since they're kind of designed to be self-contained things anyway, and so I think it would just be.
I mean, you could call it like I don't know, the Horrible Vacuum movie marathon or something like that. Movie word marathon with an anthology of different
word movie
and marathon with an anthology of different authors.
Yeah, I think we were trying to hit along those lines with some of the mega packs and stuff that was kind of like double feature, making some of them like double features, and a couple of them were released specifically with that in mind, that they were sort of like paired together. Yeah.
There's Halloween ones, and So.
Yeah, I think it would probably be, that might be a fun idea, and having like sort of introductions to each one that act almost like a snarky host or something like that.
Yeah. How would one pull that off?
It would be. I guess it would be a lot like what Harlan Ellison did with Dangerous Visions, except a lot more tongue in cheek.
He did that with King Corridor comics too, but I mean, would it be the same narrator or host every time?
I think that'd be the best way to go about it.
What do you guys think? Somebody's knocking somewhere. I don't know where.
Some ad,
Probably
yeah.
poltergeist.
Maybe it's opportunity. Huh?
Yeah, it's opportunity knocking. I'm giving you gold here.
I think we should just let these guys do what they want to do.
Well, what do you guys want to do?
I just told you.
What they wanna.
Yeah.
Now, guys, we're gonna put out some new titles this year. Get some new stuff. Like I said, Maxim Rock and Roll is in the works right now for publishing, and
I think Mark or Matt. What are you calling him these days? Mark or Matt?
It gets confused. Mark as a director of Horrible Vacuum Word movies, and Matt as my real actual friend. But yeah, I think he lost his internet there. He's
or interest.
Yeah.
What was I saying? But yeah, like I said, we're just gonna keep. We got some in the works, and I think this is definitely sort of agitated some of our thinking about some of this, and I wouldn't be surprised if within the next couple weeks we get some news out there.
Well, yeah, feel free to come back on here when you do. You might, sell one.
But yeah, we'd be happy to. This is it's. I will just say from my standpoint, it's thrilling that these made their way around to arrive here.
Or anywhere, right? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And because it really was. It is just sort of between Matt and I, just a way for us to sort of have fun with each other and come up with these stupid things. And
right.
It is a real thrill to hear those really, really bad words and lines of dialogue coming out of someone else's mouth.
So, what are some of your better memories of that late night, host type atmosphere? Who were some of your favorite hosts? Or Joe Bob Briggs?
Joe Bob Briggs was great. He definitely stands out for me. Down here in New Orleans, there was Morgus the Magnificent.
Yeah, he died.
He died recently. Yeah. He was great. I'm originally from Indiana, but I've been down here for a minute now. And we didn't have a sort of local one in Indianapolis growing up, but I just sort of collected and enjoyed the idea of just horror hosts in general. I thought it was a great format, and I miss it. I would say that of any of those, Mystery Science Theater was huge for me. To date, that's still one of the most nostalgic, feel-good things I can put on. I can just throw on Mystery Science Theater and just be sort of transported to a sort of place of just carefree engaging with some really bad old great movies.
Which era?
I spanning the whole thing. I think I'm a Joel guy first and foremost, but there are absolute classics from beginning to end of that series, including the new series that just came out. There's some great stuff in that too.
That's the one with Felicia Day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know what people see in Joel.
Oh, I like Joel.
Yeah, I did too.
His delivery, and I don't know.
I mean, his whole thing is that he was like deadpan and completely, accepting of his situation. I guess that's what people found appealing about Mike, is that he was more proactive in trying to get off the satellite.
Yeah, I that sort of deadpan, dry humor has always been sort of a sweet spot for me. I think that's why Joel always stuck out.
Do you know what movie, what low budget movie actually inspired Mystery Science Theater initially in terms of robot design and overall atmosphere?
Lay it on us.
Ever heard of Silent Running?
Yeah.
I can kind of see it, but I mean, initially that the show creators said that they attributed it to Silent Running, about the hippie astronaut who hated all his co-pilots or whatnot, and because they couldn't appreciate poetry, or just the idea that they were out there in space, and so he kills them. Spoiler. I mean, it was released in the 70s, but some poor sap out there is complaining about spoilers. Zach.
I thought it was like inspired by the Lost in Space TV show in terms of the design and the fact that Joel in it is called Joel Robinson.
Whoa, what's the connection?
Paging
But
Will
Lost in
Robinson.
Space?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pager Will Robinson.
Yeah, Robinson's the name of the family.
Yeah. Are you sure that Mark didn't bail out of embarrassment for him being associated with it?
I've known him for many years. I've never seen the man embarrassed. But he does. He's a bit out in the sticks in North Carolina there, and I know doesn't get the best connection in his basement.
Yeah, his connection did seem a little precarious.
Yeah. Well, what is that poster behind you? Mark of the Devil.
Mark of the Devil. Exorcism be damned. It's part 2, though. I've only seen part 1, but it's a great poster.
Whoa. So it's a comedy? Is it a comedy?
Yeah. Yeah, clearly. Just one of the cashing in on the Exorcist craze back then. The rush to slap anything you could with devils and exorcisms on any movie coming out then.
Right.
Yep.
They say that if it sounds funny, then it is funny. But I don't know. I mean, I've heard a female comedian say that when people ask, how to get, dip their feet into the funny business. But I'm not so sure that that's the case.
What are you talking about?
Okay, in terms of writing something funny, okay, she says if it sounds funny, then it's funny. But I think how do you approach funniness in this really, short, brief fiction?
The talking about humor is the most and hilarious way to go about it. It's just, I don't have a way to verbalize it really. There's just Matt and I have been friends and kicking stuff back and forth for so long that we just kind of developed this shared language and sense of what works and sort of I talked about the title that had been written up and we eventually passed on. It was a friend of mine that submitted it, and it was just I couldn't comment any specifically about what was wrong. It just didn't. It missed the mark. I would say the most obvious thing was just by being too self-aware of how bad it was. And I think that there's, as terrible as these are and as bad as we deliberately try to write them, there's also an earnestness in a way to them internally. And that's as much as I really want to get into it, because this is
dissecting what's funny about something is one of the worst things that you could ever do to something, I think, right? I mean, to try to explain why something is funny is a horrible path to go down, in my opinion. So,
nothing ruins a joke faster than explaining it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will say that a horrible path and horrible vacuum as a name was just something that sucks terribly.
Nice.
That's kind of what I thought it.
I didn't even get that.
That's kind of what I thought it was, but I wondered if maybe it was a reference to something I didn't get. No, it just means sucks terribly.
Yeah, it sucks terribly. And as a result, we abbreviate it as HVAC International, and as a result, I have a lot of heartbroken heating and air conditioning accounts that follow me.
Wow.
Okay, that one took a minute too.
That wasn't even really a joke. That's just humor of real life. That there are a number of heating and air conditioning accounts that follow Horrible Vacuum International.
Wow.
None the wiser.
There's the acronym too. I don't know if it's, maybe it's a stretch, but HVI. It's similar to HIV, I guess.
We've never gone there with it, but sure, yeah. It's like the autoimmune disease, exactly.
HVI does actually sound like what it could be, like a production company in the 80s, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a side anecdote, but just sort of that 80s very, very industrial naming of things and presentation of things. There was a road trip Matt and I were on a number of years ago, going through Virginia, visiting a friend in Richmond, and we always kind of stop in and out of like thrift stores along the way, see if there's any stupid looking movies we can grab. And we stopped at one, and as we're getting back in the car, we hadn't even noticed when we pulled it in the parking lot, but we see across the highway in stark black letters on a yellow sign, Video Marked Corp. And it just closed like 2 years ago, but it was one of the most perfectly, beautifully preserved video stores left in the country, run by these 80-year-old Ukrainian brothers. And it was just aisles and aisles of big box horror VHS just in this like industrial section outside of Richmond with Video Mark Corp. And we found out that there's a fluke in Virginia Commonwealth law that allowed for the preservation of this beautiful, gorgeous video store, in that if any establishment sells adult material, which this had a back room with adult tapes, and there were a couple of old gentlemen coming and going as we were browsing the aisles, it can only represent 20% or some X% of their inventory. And it meant that this video store, in order to maintain its actual business of old men continuing to rent pornography on a physical format, it had to keep every single VHS that ever passed through their store to maintain their ratio. And it was a beautiful thing.
That is awesome.
Preserved an amber of the amber of pornography.
Wow.
That is awesome.
How long ago was this that you went there?
That was like 6 years ago. We were on this road trip and it just closed. I found the Craigslist post that it closed like 2 years ago.
And they still were renting VHS. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. And VHS porn in the back, and that was their bread and butter.
That was their bread and butter, baby.
Wow.
How do you feel? What are your thoughts on Gary Busey?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
I try to have as little as possible.
What?
I like his hair.
Huh?
I like his hair too.
Well, I actually, I once on an Adderall binge, like spent several hours just jotting down every single like Busey-ized fiction story title I could come up with. Breaking Busey, Altered Busey, where the red
American Busey. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, Busey Rider.
Busey versus William Dafoe.
The Busey on the Western Front.
Where
What
the
did you say about Willem Dafoe?
goes, where the
Busey versus Willem Dafoe.
Oh, okay. That would be a good one.
and Predator 2. Don't worry, we got it right this time. Was the subtitle?
I don't remember him in Predator 2. I remember y'all
yes, it
talking
was.
about
Busey and Busey.
It.
Busey
I'm not
versus
doubting
Busey.
that he was there. I'm saying that I don't remember him being
Yeah, I
there.
don't remember him being in there.
Got it right this time. It's because he dies in Predator 2, and he actually should have been more deadly and dangerous than the Predator. The Predator should have been a cameo.
That's a lie.
Yeah, he's on. Yeah, Busey is just on so many drugs that the Predator can't make him feel a goddamn thing.
He was in Gary Busey 2 with the special appearance by the Predator. Yeah.
Yes.
No, the
How about
Predator's
that
like president.
sitcom where Gary Busey and the Predator are roommates?
That right there. Yes. I like it.
And it's like a kind of white flight thing where they're trying to get out of the neighborhood and it's taken over by aliens.
I don't know, too high concept.
It'd just be like, "Hey, Predator, did you? Predator, did you? I don't know. I can't really do a Busey. Predator, did you drink the last of the milk?" And the Predator's just like,
And then he explodes, like throws the empty jug like at the Predator's head.
So you brought up this Gary Busey thing before, Jeremy. Now, do you have this list of Adderall-inspired titles like by your computer so that you can bring them up and read off it? What's going on with that? It's kind of weird.
Well,
"You need to."
I don't have that those notes like by my computer, but I could bring up the clip for a second and let you hear a few titles that I had.
No, I don't want to revisit, but I was just curious. I thought you might have had that in your notebook, like on hand.
I should have.
Now, is that in the same notebook where like you showed us this writing that you did, where it was like obvious speed demon type of situation where you were hallucinating on so much speed that you were just writing stuff and then writing over the stuff? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did. Well,
Just like fucking grinding your teeth at fucking writing the shit out at like a pre-cum dripping from your flaccid dick.
this is getting scary, guys. How did you know? How did you know about that's
There's none of it's just a lucky guess.
But well, yeah. Hang on, yeah. I've got that here somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of that was a great artifact. I liked seeing that. I like seeing like I don't know what's that guy's name? Henry Darger kind of looking thing, you know?
Yeah.
Evidence of Jeremy Maddox's downfall.
Yeah.
Someday we're gonna find your home abandoned with all of that just written all over the walls.
Yeah, what the hell, man? Look at that. That's great.
It's like I just was frantically like scribbling in every open space I could find, basically. So there's look at
how many fucking pages did you do?
Upon page,
how many Adderall did you take again?
there was phentermine too. So
I mean, that's great. I love seeing stuff like that. I'd like to see that in person.
no, but the reason I brought
That belongs in a museum.
Well, it kind of does. But the reason I bring up the Busey thing is because I was wondering if you would entertain a Busey pitch, maybe.
We'll entertain any pitch. We might bunt it out of the park, but
because hey, if you need to go into business with anybody, it's clearly me. You know,
I think it's clearly
Yeah,
Gary
'cause
Busey. He can
obviously
star in
Jeremy
the
needs
film
to
version.
get his cam up like to where it's looking down like upon him, other than like up at him, like Showbiz 101. Yes,
like that.
Perfect. That's what you should have been doing the whole time.
Yeah,
But
Gary Busey could be in the picture story versions of these word movies.
It should only be Gary Busey. Like 100, all of the actors are Gary Busey wearing different makeup and wigs in front of a green screen.
God, that does. Now that you put it that way, that does sound like the dream.
Yeah, it does.
There was one in particular, though, man, and I'm not in a state where I can, easily access it. But I don't know. I'm gonna be following up on this pitch with you. I'm sorry that Mark bailed. He was frustrated with the delay issues, or he got tired of dealing with this loser here. I don't.
He might have just had technical problems.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah.
I got
ran in the house and tackled him.
To connect, but I'm probably gonna have to bail here myself. Get some dinner going in the household, but I appreciate y'all having us on here.
I
great.
got to say that this was originally going to be much more of a dynamic discussion. It's not always this awkward, but for obvious reasons, it's like my mind is really scattered right now. But I'm still glad that we got this shit done. And if you want to come back when it's less awkward, I would hope that you would be down with that.
Yeah, come back when you have more products.
Maybe when we get some new titles out this year, we can come back and rap with y'all some more.
And
sure.
if George George or
Matt Doyley
or Steve Lawman want to come on,
Yeah, Steve. I want Steve to come on.
All right, I'll call my pops up and tell him we're gonna have him on.
All right,
that'd be awesome.
Why didn't you bring him to begin? That's a great story.
Yeah.
The author of Poltergeist.
He came up with that completely on his own. I will say that is maybe my favorite pun of all the titles we've put out.
I haven't read it
really
yet.
Good.
I haven't read it yet, but who or what character is a sit-in for the Zelda Rubinstein character? Go towards the light, Carolyn. Who or what sits in for him?
All are welcome. I got to revisit that myself. It's been a while since I read it, and I think you put rereading the Poltergeist on my docket for tonight.
Do it.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you for your time. And again, it was originally going to be more dynamic, but I guess I'll settle for awkward tonight. I needed to get my mind off shit. I appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, it's been fun listening.
Thanks a lot for coming, man.
Thank you.
I think this was a fun discussion.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I hope that starter pack doesn't do too much damage to you. I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's going to be great because I'll be able to pump up my Goodreads list for the year, right? As far as books read, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's how I should have been pitching this all along. It's excellent padding for the amount of books you've put away. Yeah, there you go.
Now, do you think that there's any publishing racket that is like worse than you guys in terms of just sheer badness and sheer cheesiness? Do you think anybody either does the cheesiness not as well as you, or is even worse overall than you? Which
I think there are people who are using the trashiness of the ebook format to greater effect. Like there's what's his name who does the I was seduced by my Velociraptor boss.
Chuck Tingle.
Yeah, Chuck Tingle.
pounding on my own leg.
Man, just kicking that in. And I think that we've taken very different routes but kind of ended up inhabiting similar space. That's
he's in the porn section in the back. You're the guys in the front.
Yeah, there you go. And the porn section's why anything exists. And that's stuff I've been aware of. There's also none of this was deliberate. I just think that there's, people of a certain sensibility and came up with certain influences that there's kind of just sort of shared values. There's also Liar Town, which he does Photoshop like farces. There's like fake magazines and fake like grocery store listings and stuff. There's a Feral House put out the Liar Town collection. He used to have a blog for years, and that is excellent.
Oh yeah, Liar Town. Oh yeah, I think he's most famous for his social justice kittens calendars.
Yeah, stuff like that. He nails it. And he used to do Crab Hound and stuff. But just stuff like that is the only stuff that really comes to mind in terms of like similar things. Not at all to like put ourselves on that level, just like similar sensibilities without any deliberation.
Huh. Okay.
Liar Town, that's good fun though. There's a Swishin' for corduroy fetishists, just like nails the 70s porn aesthetic, and yeah, it was great. Anyway,
wait, do you have any serious fiction that you've ever released? Or if it's under a pen name, you don't have to say who it is, but are they out there? Any of you guys? Have you flirted with serious publishing? I don't. Nobody's getting in trouble for anything, but Matt put out has a book called Next Stop Adventure. It was put out by Pioneers Press, and used to work briefly for Microcosm Publishing. I did a little stint with Research, RE/Search out in San Francisco. Did like Industrial Culture Handbook and Modern Primitives and stuff like that. There's Matt's book about his bike trips across the country. I had an old imprint called Nada that put out a couple books of more serious fiction from some close friends. I don't know that White Horses by Doug Milliken was one of the first things we put out. He's gone on and done some good stuff, but it's out there. We're not just idiots, but it's what we have the most fun doing.
That's kind of an interesting I don't know what you'd call it, crossover. I didn't expect someone who wrote for I think you mentioned research books. I wouldn't have expected them to be something that that also wrote an HVI book. There is no official crossover other than that I interned from that, and they were kind of like publisher heroes growing up, and I went. Research is pretty awesome. I have their edition of the Atrocity Exhibition by Ballard. That's a pretty good version of it. Yeah, definitely.
And so that was Matt and I both came up in punk scene and stuff, and so that very much informed our sensibilities, and kind of we both cut our teeth in sort of different aspects of that, and research just happened to be mine. Pranks was a hugely influential book for me.
Did you ever get to interact with Boyd Rice?
Not Boyd. There's a clip actually of Matt and I sitting on top of Mark Pauline's trailer at Survival Research Labs, having our hats blasted off our head by a Nazi shockwave cannon for a bit the History Channel.
It's pretty awesome.
So met Mark Pauline and Survival Research Labs, hung out at the warehouse there before they moved to Oakland and stuff. So yeah, that's just a little hint of some of kind of like the roots of this stuff that is in no way like what's going on in the present iteration of Horrible Vacuum, but just kind of like where we came from. And
are you aware of creation books?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're doing is almost is somewhat similar to what they were doing with, what did they call that imprint? It was like Blam or something like that, where it was stuff like my autobiography by Jesus Is Christ and stuff like that, or stuff like Whip's Furs, and I can't remember a lot of the titles, but they were like that. They were intentionally like over the top and like almost presenting themselves as like a book version of like over the top B movies.
Yeah.
That's creative the way that I've been seeing that in these books you use the metaphor of film or videos, like when you were talking about the video store and stuff. That's like a really interesting, I don't is that like a throwback necessarily? I don't know what the term would be, but it's an interesting way. It feels
movies. They call them word movies.
Movies, yeah.
Tongue in cheek, totally like goofy.
Yeah. Would you describe it as like a throwback? Like it's kind of
I think like there's a danger in sort of like explicit nostalgia right now that can kind of come up, and I think it's more for us. It was just the framing. We don't like the structure of an old video house that was cranking out a bunch of kind of garbage, and like in publishing history, I really drawn to that. That in the 70s and pulps and stuff, it enabled this whole industry. If there was a dream for Horrible Vacuum, it would be that we were putting out enough stuff that we could, support sort of a network of writers and artists, have covers illustrated and actually like generate its own stuff. But it's like when that sort of style of publishing, first in books, as it went from pulps to then like magazines and Penthouse and Playboy became sort of the storing houses for all these up and coming, like really interesting sci-fi writers and stuff, because the amber of pornography preserving culture, and then it moved on to videos, and there was a similar format and industry. And so that was the stuff I was really inspired by, that you could sort of have this banner that sort of sustained action and stuff like that. And so that was kind of
almost like what Olympia Books did. They were like the first ones to publish books like Lolita, Ulysses, Tropic of Cancer, things like that. But most of what they put out were just like porn books.
Yeah, so Globe Press had a sort of the blue imprint as well and stuff. Yeah,
you harken back to pulp as well.
What's that?
That's the whole point.
Yeah. No, that's really
Definitely.
Cool. So I did miss some of the show, but do you have any recommendations from your press? Because like I've been seeing a lot of presses that are up and coming, and like it's interesting to see like how with technology, like we're able to publish and like actually like have an actual house. It's pretty cool. So I'm just wondering like what books you would recommend.
Of ours?
Yeah. Because I missed some of that, but
sure.
And just to be clear, so even though you were influenced by punk and stuff, you do have like this really like humorous approach to even like the way that you're publishing it, right? So like it's even like kind of exploring the boundaries of the ebook. To like capture this aesthetic, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's why like we also, I'm Andy, but operate as Art Luman and for Horrible Vacuum purposes and stuff. And that like we don't care. We're not trying to sustain this as a real business. It's play between friends, and so it's this kind of idea of this like elevated just joke. And so if any marketing that goes along with it, any branding, any way it presents itself had to be stuff that was entertaining to us first and foremost, not stuff that's just like, oh, we gotta look at the analytics and we gotta get the numbers up, and this isn't SEO'd as good as it could be. It's more just like carrying over the sort of aesthetics and of the the materials itself into its whole presentation. It ends up being fairly convoluted, but that doesn't matter because, like I said, we've brought in enough to order several large pizzas, and that's a success by our metrics. I will say I did plug Wishing Hell that Matt wrote as one of my current favorites from the offerings, and somebody just ordered Magic Die the other day, which I went back and reread, and that's towards the top of the list as well.
What was the second book you referenced?
The Magic Die, which is about that flash in the pan craze of the Magic Eye books and art that had the 3D images on the pattern stuff.
I could never see anything in those. I tried and tried it. They never worked for me.
This is a story for you. The cover of that one actually is a Magic Eye image that I generated, and it doesn't really work with how low res it is, but if you were to see the full res version, there's a skull and the bleeding text of Magic Die and stuff on there. But
nice.
Yeah, well, and there's something to be said that, like, when your house continues to continue along, that it would be interesting to see what ends up rising to the top, you know? Like,
sure.
I mean, you reference Ulysses and some of these others, Tropic of Cancer. It's just interesting to think about where this could go.
Yeah, I could see Fall Wall maybe being, you know, legendary, or not legendary, but, you know, standing the test of time with something like Ulysses or, you know, Tropic of Cancer. I mean, with that premise, I mean, I can see that.
Phoenix, this is like
stand alongside them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Phoenix, this is like that late night. This is like what they're going for. They're going for something that is below the standards of like Trauma Entertainment. If you're familiar with the Toxic Avenger, it's like,
you know, when you were talking about that, I have to admit I didn't know what was being referenced. You were talking about like a specific thing underground.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what that referenced to.
You don't know Trauma?
No.
Toxic Avenger?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, this is like
that's why I like Phoenix. He doesn't know any of these like references, and it's great. I think it's great to find somebody who doesn't know any of this dumb shit.
He's the one. He's the. He's too brainy for us. And,
I know.
We're over here watching like, Romeo and Juliet, and he's there over here like, what's that?
Yeah.
By the way, Art, did you know that Trauma actually did do a legitimately serious stab at like Vietnam, like shell shock syndrome, you know, like PTSD from war and everything. And to this day, they consider it the masterpiece of Trauma's entire catalog. It's called Combat Shock. You've probably seen it, right?
Yeah. Trauma is interesting and like not completely off model for what we're thinking, that, you know, like they kind of had their set stuff, but every once in a while it was just like something that Trauma distributed or released, and it's like, oh, there's something to that movie. I think Trauma is I Godspeed on them. I love that they exist. You know, Lloyd's a gem. I do think that they're not the most watchable films once you see Speed 12. But I love that they're out there. I love that they're still doing stuff, and you know, they're definitely a similar template.
And for now, there's new 12-year-olds every day, right? That can enjoy
exactly.
some film.
So I just bought a copy of Magic Die for Kindle, so I'm pretty excited. I want to see this aesthetic lived out.
Well,
I mean, like,
I'm.
Go ahead.
My regrets that you're about to read the Magic Die.
Yeah, just keep in mind it has its tongue very far in its cheek when you read it.
Okay. Well, I feel like that was the point, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited.
And, you know, going back to what Art said about you know, pornography being like almost like the pedestal holding up everything else, like the first film about like Vietnam, like PTSD and shell shock was a porn film called Forced Entry, and part of the reason it had that was the first film about you know about Vietnam's shell shock, and part of the reason why it used that conceit is because, you know, in order to keep from being censored, like a lot of porn films back then had to have like an quote unquote artistic merit to it.
The only places you used to be able to buy or get your hands on William Burroughs or Ginsberg or the Beats or anything was at porn shops. You know, that's
going back to
Naked
Lunch was another one that Olympia Press put out, I think.
Yeah. Well, like I said, really appreciate hanging out with y'all. I hope those recommendations do you well, and we can wrap in the future when some more stuff goes down.
Yeah. Enjoy your dinner.
I'll definitely be picking up some of the HV titles. Thanks a lot for coming on.
All right. Thank you, boys.
Peace out.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was pretty fun. And I deserve a medal for my restraint for not making any jokes about how much he resembles Robert Crumb.